today is called because it's a special day. It's Valentine's Day. It's probably one day that everyone is looking for. Not everyone, probably the females are looking for a little bit more. So a couple more kisses and a couple more hugs. So the gentlemen out there, make sure you give them this little extra just for today. All right, today we have a four-star diamond director from Canada, Mr. Hubert Krause, doing a presentation, and this presentation is one that you should not miss. A little bit about him. When Seta and Hubert first started building his business, or their business, they knew exactly what they wanted to achieve and how to get there. In the beginning, they used to attend all the meetings and Super Saturdays. Now they attend seminars each year. They always know what they need to do to continue building their business. They feel that it is important to always focus on the good of the business. Isn't that true? First and foremost, this is a business. If you want results and time freedom, you should treat it as such. This is what Hubert's saying. You should remember those words. Hubert and Seta believe the greatest benefit from owning this USANA business is that they can work it wherever and whenever. So they're so appreciative of USANA, and they feel that it is a great company, great management, great marketing team. Anyone can do this, they say. If you take off your blinders, roll up your sleeves, and get to work, the sky's the limit to what you can achieve. So to the man today who is going to teach us how to roll up our sleeves and get to work, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hubert Krause, four-star diamond director, and he's also professional marketing, a professional network marketer, international speaker, recipient of Dr. Wentz Vision Award in 2001, members of the $1 Million Club, and also the IBC. Well, there we go. I'll pass the audience over to you, Mr. Hubert Krause.
Hello, everybody. Belinda, you can hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
Great. So I hope everybody will hear us well. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that is on this webcast today. Having picked the 14th is kind of a coincidence with falling on Valentine's Day, and I'm sure the topic we're going to discuss today, overcoming objections. Probably you won't get too many objections today, I'm sure, because people are more lenient on Valentine's Days on both sexes. I'm sure of that. As a matter of fact, Seta, my wife, she's on her way to Boston right now to see our grandchildren, twins that changed our lives completely since about 19 months, and she's helping out her daughter in Boston, and she has that time freedom. We're going to talk about this a little bit today. Also, the opportunity to do her own schedule and work when and with whom she wants to at any time, just like we do. She has chosen to go for about a week to Boston to help Rita out with her twins. Of course, we don't have to have any schedule to worry about, I have to go back to my job, or I have to ask my job to can I take some time off, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd like to go right back into the matter that we're going to discuss today. But before I do, I'd like to put something in front here. 13 years ago, when we started USANA, and we saw USANA for the first time, and we got so excited that we went back to Quebec and said, we're going to build this business. There was absolutely no option of trying, or we'll see how it works. It was simply a decision, just like Belinda was saying. We had our goals set. We said, we're going to build this network in Quebec, and there was nothing going on, nothing in French, and a lot of people discouraged us. We had incredible objections that literally came at us, and we realized that no matter where you start, you will always have to run into this, and you have to make it part of you. So when we started out 13 years ago, we knew one thing. We are going to find some like-minded people like us that want to have better health, number one, in general, and also some extra income. And, of course, contacting many people and building our network, this is what you got to do. You have to contact a lot of people. You have to start the prospecting and sponsoring process, and that inevitably leads into objections. And I hate this word. We're going to make a big switch today, and I promise you, after this presentation, you will see everything different when you talk to people and they're bringing their concerns. I'd rather talk about concerns or anxieties people have instead of objections. But let's go right into the first slide and look at what we're talking about. I object, of course. There's people that object, and it could be very intimidating. Now, the problem is, are you intimidated by that? Is this your perception, actually, of being afraid of getting objections, so-called objections? Are you literally having certain fears or don't feel well, for instance, not feeling at ease, and you'd rather have not to answer any of those objections and run away from it, and hopefully it'll go away, but it won't go away. You'll have to deal with it. So what we're going to do today, we're going to, first of all, look why we are fearful. Why are people afraid of so-called objections? And I'm going to show you the transition we need to do in order to become more successful. For instance, look at the fear factors. Maybe it's your fear of any kind. This could be fear of rejection. Many people have that. Automatically, they don't like to be rejected, or maybe fear of ridicule. What will they think? They'll laugh at me. So you become inadequate. Or fear of failure. Fear of failure is a very powerful fear factor. Or fear of success. Many people are really afraid of success, and they, I don't know why, but it does happen in many cases. Or the fear of lack of preparedness. Are you prepared to answer these objections? Maybe you don't feel good about it. Lack of self-confidence. You're not too sure about it. There's a problem with your belief system, maybe. Or you're not too long in the business and you can't really speak from a position of strength. There's a feeling of inadequacy, of course, that might be also responsible. Let me give you, this is the bad news. Now let me give you the good news. Any fear that you see here is basically an illusion as far as I'm concerned. Because if you look at fear, what it really means or comes down to is false evidence appearing real. Whatever your fear factor is, oh, he won't listen to me, oh, he has got too much money, oh, no, he will laugh at me. These are your own attributes that you're thinking and that you're transferring onto yourself from someone who may not even think that way. So it is you that it's creating a false image of all these factors. What you want to do is forget about all these fears, because it is a people business, don't forget. We're talking to people every day. We're talking to people on a constant basis, and we need to talk to people because think about it like doing a conversation, and instead of being afraid of talking about USANA, you're putting a lot of pressure by being afraid of it. Why don't we turn objections into opportunities? This is what I want to do with you guys today. I want you to make a mental switch. Really think about an opportunity every time somebody that you contact. Of course, there needs to be communication, and when somebody has a certain so-called objection, think about it, a concern or an anxiety that you need to address. For instance, the best way to do is change your perception of, instead of objections, call it opportunities. And I'll explain to you how you do this and why it's important. For instance, you've got to make a mental switch, number one. Get rid of that old tape in your head that objections are negative. Think about so-called concerns, objections, concerns, anxieties are positive. As a matter of fact, I'm the happiest person when I talk to someone and somebody is responding to me and brings out his anxieties and his concerns. You see, I'm welcoming objections. Why? Because it gives me an opportunity to help that prospect. Because, let's face it, you hold the key. You hold the key, helping your prospect overcome their anxieties and concerns. And what better way to interact with the prospect, provided it's whatever the objection is. We're going to go through 5 or 6 real objections that always come over and over again. And we're going to show you how you can address this in a very simple way. the main topic today is to keep things very simple. I don't want you to get involved in justifying anything your prospect may say, and we're going to go into the details, and I'll show you what I mean with this. But the first thing I want you to think about objections as opportunities. Think about to help your prospect overcome their anxieties or concerns. That's all it is. They need information, you see. Every time I have a prospect that comes to me and he starts talking about certain concerns and objections, I'm happy because I have a live prospect in front of me. I have an interested prospect in front of me. I have someone who needs answers. What better could you have? If you talk to someone and that person, whatever your pitch or your presentation was, you talk about your charm, and that person says, yeah, okay, and then you ask, well, what do you think? Well, I don't know, and he has nothing to say. That's the worst thing that can happen, let me tell you. You need to have reaction, and the best reaction is when somebody brings their concerns, because they are thinking. Let me tell you, let's take just one. Oh, I don't have money. Let's say if that was your objection or the prospect objection. What it really means is if you can show me that I can do it without having a lot of money, I'm in. In other words, they want to listen to you, what you have to offer to the prospect, and we'll show you how you go about it. There's a few interesting ways to think about this, but let's talk about a live prospect, an interested prospect, someone who needs answers. This is what someone is saying when he comes up with certain concerns or objections. For instance, another thing very important to realize is you do not want to convince. You want, first of all, let me just backtrack here a little bit. We want to go back one slide here and look at when we look at become a great listener. You see, before you can answer any objections, you also, instead of you doing all the talking, learn to listen to your prospect's concern. Ask questions about concerns, what he's made of. Who is he? What does he work? Is he happy in his job? What concerns him? It is not just one objection. You need to know the profile of your prospect. And the art of listening will give you more input and more power to answer any concerns than you may think. Because it is not as dry and cut where you just say, oh, the guy says he has no time. Before he will say that, you should listen to the prospect. Probably that objection wouldn't even come up if you have listened to the prospect and you can give solutions to a certain extent. But let's take, so become a great listener, number one, is very important. Listen to your prospect's concerns and find his or her hot point. You want to find the hot point of a person, what makes him or her tick. This is very important to find out why he wants to change, if he wants to change, whether he's serious or not. You see, let me give you an example. Some people may say, I don't have time. And then you try to answer that. And then all of a sudden they say, well, and besides, I don't have money. Now it's the money. You see, first it wasn't time, now it's the money. So you try to answer that again. And then he says, oh, by the way, I don't know anybody. So now it's three different objections. That is an indication that you don't have the right person. You have a curious person that is not really interested. He just tries to dwell on the negatives. He's not really concerned with your answers because he's not really with it. This is what I found. And when I see that the persons jump from one to the next, what I usually tell people if they give me three or four excuses, I say, you know, John, I appreciate what you're saying, but once you really find out if you want to do this business or you're more structured and you want to know more specifics, please let me know. And you leave it at that. You don't try to become someone who's trying to go from one to the next. You need to understand that a prospect is either serious or curious. And if they're curious, for whatever reason, you're going to have a harder time to get that person to your business. You want to find and identify the people that have a serious concern. And you will find this out. And depending how you answer it, it may be an indication for the person to see. Because if you answer it in a very intelligent way and in a simple way that hits exactly what he wants about his objection, you will be more successful. And we're going to go through some examples in a few moments. But before we do, too many people try to convince a prospect, whatever it is, convince them at all costs, and they become kind of almost offensive in the eyes of the prospect, and the prospect gets more and more turned off if you want to convince the person. I've never convinced anyone in my existence in the network marketing industry. What we rather do is, what we want to do is, instead of convincing, you would rather facilitate, accommodate, and educate the people. You know, when you start facilitating them and accommodating them with their concerns and even educating them in a certain case, and we'll go into this as well, you will have an incredible success rate, because people will realize that you care for them. They will realize you respect them. You're building a relationship at the same time, and this is the most important thing you can ever do. I don't care what objection comes up. If you're not able to build a relationship with a person, that's why you need to be a good listener. You need to interact with the person, talk to him. If you can't build that relationship, no matter what you say, if he doesn't feel good with you, he will never sign up. I tell you this right now. In the end, your prospect will sign up with you because he will respect you. He will feel good with you. He feels confident with you. That's when they sign up, even if they don't have all the answers, let me tell you. And I've had this over and over again. I've brought people into the business that didn't even know the company's name, really. I just talked to my story, talked to them about my story, and explained to them what it has done for me, and I built a relationship with this person. And after the third, fourth time I saw that person, he signed up and says, well, now tell me a little bit more about yourself. But he was already in the business. See, because of trust. Because of trust. Trusting you and being confident with you. That's very, very important. Now, let's get to the next slide here. It's getting very interesting now. You see, here are most of the common objections or concerns. And I want to just bring them up for you to see. For instance, how many people got no time? I'm sure you've heard that. Oh, I have no time, or no money, or can't afford it. These are the most common one. Oh, I'm not a salesperson. We're getting this over and over again. Is it a pyramid? Well, the person wants to know if it's legal, basically. That's why they're saying it. Don't know anybody. We talked about that. I know people that failed in network marketing, so network marketing is not for me. So what you're going to do is you're going to address each one of them specifically, and you will see there will be a common denominator that you can use over and over again. How many people believe it should be as simple as possible? How many people like the simplicity of our business? Well, I certainly do, and I'm sure you do too. You want to keep it simple, because simplicity and the simple way people can duplicate. If you make it complicated, if you make your business complicated, people will not join you, because they say, oh no, I can't be like him, or I can't do this. They lose it. They need to see it is a simple business. There are simple answers to everything, and that's when people join you. But before we go on, I'd like to just make a little survey here. Who was ever confronted with any of these objections or concerns? Right now, you can go and click on either yes or no, and we can see how many people clicked on yes, and I can see it right now. I'll give it to you, and there's 100%. There's not one who said no. And that is a big sign of that we are right on, because that's exactly the idea why we are doing this. Now, here comes the key. When you get objections, I always say, before you answer anything, dig the well before you thirst. This is the principle by Confucius. I'm living by this. Sarah and I, we live by this. We don't wait to the last minute. I use that in order also to recruit people or to sponsor them. Right now, I'm giving you a case that I'm working on. I have my car sales. He's about my BMW dealer car salesman. I'm buying his cars from him. Since 2 years, I'm with him, and the same salesman. And he wants to change, but he doesn't want to change because he's kind of comfortable, but he knows he needs to make a change in his life. He's got 2 children now, and there's not enough commissions. You never know when he loses his job. Now, 4 salesmen were fired, and he was telling me the story. And all I said, Joe, dig the well before you thirst. In other words, while things are good and you're making income, this is the time when you need to have an extra income and a stream of residual income that you have to create over the next 2-3 years. That is the time. I hear too many times, I'm very good right now. I've got a great job. I don't need it. That's when you need it. You see, you have to dig the well before you thirst. Prepare yourself. In other words, coming back to objections, don't go in cold. You should prepare yourself. And the way you do this is, as a matter of fact, you want to anticipate the objection. You should have the answers before they come up. So then you practice, practice, practice. In other words, you want to make sure that you know the answers before any objections come up. And you can create the answers in your own words. You can research it. You can use, because there's no right answer. I tell you right now. But there's an intelligent answer that makes sense to people. And you've got to keep this in mind. You must address the concerns of the people. And there is a specific way and a formula that we developed that works extremely well, that takes everything they are concerned with out, and they say, gee, yeah, that makes sense. And they come to your level, and they become confident. You build a relationship, and the end result, they'll sign up with you. So anticipate the objections before they come up. So what does it mean now? Excuse me. Before we go on and go into the examples, we believe to show compassion and use phrases of empathy in your business endeavor. You treat it like a business, you work it like a business, but you've got to have a dash of heart in it. You cannot leave the heart out. There must be some compassion that you show to your prospects, to your associate downline members, etc., the people you deal with. This is what will make you more successful in a jiffy. What I mean is this. Say things like, I know how you feel, before you answer the question. I know how you feel. Confirm that, or I know what you mean. Or you can say, I understand how you feel, or I can feel for you. Use these phrases of compassion. Let's say somebody tells me I don't have money. I know how you feel, John. John, I know what you mean. John, I understand how you feel. Confirm that. Make them realize you respect them. You understand how they feel. It is extremely important to appeal to the feeling in the person and to the heart to a certain extent. And then the next phrase you want to use is, for instance, the sequence of answering prospects' concerns. Use a phrase of empathy, which we just saw. I know how you feel, John. Then followed by a phrase of acknowledgement, acknowledging the prospect's concern with a statement. And then use phrases like, if I could show you, or did you know, or would you, or if you would like to know more. These are the 4 key elements you can use over and over again, which keeps your answer very precise, short, and to the point. And you take it from there, from the reaction of your prospect. It's a very simple process. By the way, you have this all in the handout. You can download it. There's a PDF form with all the information that you have here. You can download it and print it for your reference, okay? Now, let's take a look at this a little closer. Let's take one of the examples. I mean, here's a classic one. You've made your pitch. You've talked to the person. They said, well, Hubert, I don't have time. What are you going to say? Now, I don't know what you're going to say. You may now, if you're not prepared, and if you haven't done your homework, you're gonna swim through this, and the prospect will notice that. You may even become aggressive and try to say, well, everybody has time, I don't know why, let me, and you're trying to say something, but you're not saying anything. That's the biggest problem. So here's a very simple way that you can build on. Let's take a look at this. John, I know what you mean. This is exactly how I thought at the beginning. If I could show you a way to do this business to fit into your schedule, would you reconsider? Would you join me? Would you become part of our organization? Whatever you want to say, would you give me 40 minutes of your time to explain to you? See, it's a very simple phrase, but it's It's using a word of empathy or a sentence, I know what you mean, and then give a statement how you felt or address and repeat the people's concern, what they're talking about. This is exactly how I thought in the beginning. And this is true. For instance, before I started in network marketing many, many years ago, or 25 years ago, that's what I thought. Gee, I was so busy in my life with jobs and stuff. I said many times when I was approached, oh, I don't have time, and nobody ever told me that. They were trying to tell me that I have time, but I said I don't have time. So here's a very simple way. You're not offending the person. You just say, if I could show you a way to do this business to fit into your schedule. Now, if this is my true concern, and I say, gee, that's interesting. Yeah, I'd like to. How do you do this? And then you have a conversation going. You see, you can show them how you can do this part-time, that it is a contact business. You can do all kinds of things. You've actually made a breakthrough with that phrase or with this paragraph here for that particular one. Now, if you had another, let's say, objection or concern, I don't have any money or I can't afford it, comes up very, very often. Now, what do you say to that? What would you say? Just if you use the same principle we just saw, here's what you could say. And you can formulate your own ones, build around it. John, I know what you mean. This is exactly what I thought in the beginning. If I could show you a way that it takes less money than you think to start your USANA business, would you reconsider? Would you give me 40 minutes of your time? Would you join my business? Whatever. But this, again, it hits right home. It addresses exactly what the prospect wants to know. You're not hemming, you're not hawing. It comes straight out from your heart to the prospect, looking him in the eyes. And if it's his real concern, he will listen to you. Now, as I told you in the beginning, people that are just curious, whatever you say, it's very hard to say that where you can show them it doesn't take less than you think, etc. They can't say no, but by the way, I don't have time as well, or I don't know anybody. It's going to be very hard to counter that by the prospect because you've given him a solution. There is a solution here that I can show you if you let me. Now, this will separate your real prospects from your suspects. I call them suspects, the people that are going from one to the next. They don't really know what. They're trying to challenge you for whatever reason, but they're not really prospects. They're more suspects. Maybe they need more time. But you need to move on with your prospects and identify the prospects and pamper them with your answers. Or let's take, I'm not a salesperson. I get this so many times, people, for some reason, people are afraid. Now, I could say a lot of things. I say, yeah, but we're selling ourselves all the time, We look into the mirror, make our hair nice, we shave in the morning, brush our teeth. We want to be well-dressed and impress, I don't know who, but we want to be always looking good for others, you see? So we're selling ourselves all the time. I could say these things, but it would be aggressive. You don't want to say, but you're selling anyway. If you say that, you lost the prospect, I guarantee you, because he doesn't want to be a salesperson. That's what he says. I'm not a salesperson. So address that concern. You must address the concern without becoming abusive. In this case, you could say, Tom, I understand how you feel. However, most of our successful associates are not salespersons either. If I could show you a way to succeed with USANA without being a salesperson, would you, etc. And you build on that. Now, what can you say now? See, it's a very simple phrase with the same statement of empathy, then acknowledgement of what they're afraid of, being a salesman, and then show them a way how they can succeed. Now, take another one. Let's take, for instance, is it the pyramid? That's a good one. Comes off not that often anymore, but more and more, because people are more and more educated, but there's still people out there, and they throw this word around. We could say many things. Well, what do you mean? And trying to buy time and try to defocus it. But what they're really asking is, gee, if this is legal, I'm in. That's what I see. When a person asks or brings up a objection or a concern, what they really think like is it the pyramid. They're afraid it is an illegal scheme. Or what we need to do now is we need to educate the prospect. You can say whatever you want, but use the tools. We have some fantastic tools. Tim Sales with Brilliant Compensation. I'm a member since years with them. I'm using the Brilliant Compensation flash presentation all the time, especially for people that come up that don't know yet the network marketing industry. They're confusing it with pyramids and illegal schemes. So you don't have to say much. Now let's see what you could answer here. It's an interesting one. Now the guy is afraid it's a pyramid. Well, here we go again. Ed, I know how you feel. Statement of empathy. If you mean an illegal scheme, of course not. USANA uses a business model called network marketing. Did you know that network marketing is taught at the University of Chicago by Dr. Charles King since 1993? If you would like to know more about this powerful business model, etc., bit on this, you can say, look, why don't you take a look at Explore Freedom? I'm a member for explorefreedom.com/Sarita. This comes up as my website, and people can click on Brilliant Compensation and get this fantastic flash presentation that Tim Wood has put together. And let me tell you, somebody going through that for the next 20 minutes and really is interested, I'm afraid it's a pyramid, he will come out and realizes this is a phenomenal business model. You see, we're calling it a business model. It's the words you choose in a very simple fashion. Look, it's a small paragraph, 5, 6, 7 lines, that's it. But you're digging right into it where it hurts to address the problem that your prospect has presently. So use these phrases, put them as second nature and prepare. Now, here is that's where I will refer to. If they click on that hyperlink, this is what they would get. They would get my website with Tim Sales, and you can see on the left, Watch Brilliant Compensation. If I click on it, here's what comes up, and I just want to let you know for a few moments what comes up for those who don't know it. Imagine you have that at your fingertips. You can send it by email to anyone. There he is. I can't hear it right now because for some reason my speaker. Oh, there it is. So this is a 20-minute thing. Let's go on. I don't want to waste too much time, but this is what I'm talking about. We've got Tim Wood now, Tim Sales with USANA in a very prominent way, and there's some tremendous short presentations that he put together on YouTube, and I'm using those as well. You should become part of that. If you're serious with your business, please get involved with Tim Sales and sign up. Costs you about $30 a month. You have got over 200 emails you can send out to prospects that can see the Brilliant Compensation presentation, and it will turn around your prospects like you wouldn't believe. As a matter of fact, if somebody talks to me about the industry and he's afraid of the industry and thinks it's a pyramid, I'm telling him exactly what I just showed you, and then I put him straight to the website before I even talk to USANA. I say, I want you to really look at this now, and then once you've looked through it, give me a call, and we'll talk again. Of course, I'll follow up with that person, and usually I right away send him the tape, and he can look at it at the flash presentation, and then the same time after it's finished, I'll call him back and I said, did you go through it? Did that answer your questions? And at 99% of the time, if that was their concern, is the pyramid, that objection is gone, let me tell you. And you see a different person. Now they're looking at it as a business model, a powerful business model of distribution. That's what it's all about. Now, let's go to I don't know anybody. How many people had that one? Oh, I don't know anybody. Well, where have you been all these years? I wouldn't tell this to my prospects. Where have you been living, on which planet? I mean, it's an insult. You don't want to do this. Again, use the same formula. Tom, I can feel for you. Being asked, who do you know, could be quite overwhelming at first, just like it was for me. Say it. Go back to his objection or concern, repeat it, and make an analogy with you or someone that you know or whatever your case is. However, if I could show you that you probably know more people than you think, would you? See, now I'm giving him a solution. would you reconsider? Would you give me 45 minutes of your time? And you go into the presentation and show how we create prospects. And who do you know? We've got great references for this, memory, geography, etc. Just that. People just don't think of it, you know. I mean, they've been living for 35 years, for 50 years, 56 years, and they don't know anybody? Of course they know people, but they don't realize it. So people are somehow making a snap judgment, and we are here to help them and facilitate them, accommodate them, educate them, not aggravate them. So keep this in mind, because it is your next prospect that becomes an associate that turns your business around. Don't ever forget that. Everyone you have as a prospect, you need to deal with care and with your best expertise you can possibly muster, because they can represent time and money freedom for you for the rest of your life. Just one new person. So think about that. The last one, I think. Do we still? Oh yeah, network marketing is not for me. I know people that failed in network marketing. I'm sure you've had these things. I mean, I get it, you know. Oh, this is not for me. Just now, I had a gentleman. I'm still working with him, but right now his focus is not there. But he says, "Oh, this network marketing is not for me," because they don't have the right tape running in their mind. And he told me, I know a few people, you know, they tried this thing and they failed miserably. So people confuse that with reality, and we need to address that. And here's one way you can say, for instance, Tom, I understand how you feel. I too know people who failed at university, conventional business, etc. Did you know that over 90% of businesses fail within the first 3 years? That, however, does not diminish the value of both university or business. You agree? Of course he agrees. If I could show you that you could become more successful in network marketing than in any other business, would you? And then check out MLM. Do most people fail? Again, here's Tim Sales. It's a fantastic 9-minute flash presentation. You can download it from usanatoday.com. I have it on my desktop here, and I can instantly send this to someone. And, you know, by saying this first and then look, would you like to check it out? Go to this and this URL, and you will know much more about it, for instance, and send it directly to your prospect. That will address exactly what the prospect is afraid of. Network marketing is not for me. I know people that failed in network marketing. And Tim Sales did a phenomenal job talking about do most people fail, and it makes so much sense. And he also brings out the value of network marketing, because people just don't understand, folks. You need to realize that you are there, you are the key to help people to understand more and become more effective. And then that brings us to the end here, when addressing prospects' concerns. Now, we've got a certain criteria, things you will never do. For instance, whatever you do, don't do this, argue with your prospect. The minute you do that, you lose your prospect for good. You cannot argue with your prospect, believe me. Even if he is right or wants to be right, don't argue with him. It is poison, believe me. It's the fastest way to lose your prospect. Or be right at all costs. Don't try to force and convince a person that only what you say is right. You need to address the concern, don't forget that. It's not a matter of right and wrong here. What is the matter is that you address the concern in an intelligent, understandable, simple, and make sense way. That keeps building your relationship. When you do this, you're automatically building a relationship. And don't forget, if you don't build relationships, there's no way you will ever sponsor anybody. You need to build relationships and work with that person. We've learned this a long time ago. Or show disrespect. For instance, if you're disrespectful of the person, it shows very quickly, and you lose them faster than you can think. Or talk negatively about other network marketing companies. And I've heard people that were trying to make the USANA case, and I've seen it in somebody that I was with, and the person was running down the network marketing industry, and now that particular associate He was only hailing USANA as the only one. All the rest was no good. You see, you can't do this. There are many great companies out there. And don't forget, if you do this, you're destroying your very own industry, network marketing. You know, it's like I'm a financial consultant. I'm working with the World Bank, let's say, as an example, and somebody comes to me, and I'll run down all the other financial consultant companies. Only the World Bank is the one. The others are all garbage, for instance. You can't do this. You're destroying the business you're in. The same with network marketing. If somebody talks to me and says, well, what do you think of Herbalife? Or what do you think of Nature Sunshine? Or whatever they may, I always say, well, very good companies. You know, they have their product line and they're good companies. I never run them down. I admit they're good companies. That's it. Unless they're really companies with a problem where it is known, and then you can always dance around this. You don't have to say, oh, this is no good. You just say they had some challenges and leave it at that. You do not have to become negative about the network marketing industries and companies. Keep this in mind. It's very important. It's good sense. Or talk all the time rather than learn to listen. You don't want to be the one who talks all the time and never listens, because that's poison. You need to listen to your person and, of course, try to convince them just to get them in. And I've seen that where people were talking and talking. Finally, the prospect gave in just to get rid of the associate, and he signed up and never did anything. You see, there was no relationship. There was no reason to go on. It was a blunt instrument just to sign up, and nothing happens. You can't do this. Don't convince them. Facilitate. Educate the people. Answer their questions. Empower them. It's much more interesting and long-lasting. Now, what you always want to do when you address prospects' concerns, the number one thing is, what do you think? Build relationships. Exactly, building relationships. It is always something you want to do, no matter who you talk to, because that is what is lasting in the end. Building relationships, getting a good understanding with your prospect and eventually your associate. Being honest at all times. You don't have to hide anything. You don't have to blow up certain things. Be honest. If you don't know the answer, tell your prospect, look, I can't tell you exactly, but I'll find out for you. No problem. And you get the facts and get back to the prospect. But you got to be honest. You cannot be dishonest with your person. And use empathy. Always use empathy. People need that. Believe me. People are living with this. People need to be recognized. They need to understand that somebody understands them. And once you do this, you've won 50% of the battle, believe me. Or display respect at all times. You must display respect to your prospects so they know their worth as well. Accommodate, facilitate, and educate. These are the three things you want to do instead of convince. Accommodate, facilitate, and educate. And most of all, ladies and gentlemen, please, keep this business simple. There's nothing worse than complicating the affair, making people realize that it's a complicated business. They will not sign up. They will shy away. The same when you do, I give you an example. When we do presentations, please stay on the ground. Do not become a so-called expert that is not duplicable. You need to be duplicable. Drop your pen sometimes. Pick it up. People need to see you're human. Yes, you need to be good presenter. That's fine, but show also you're human. Don't put yourself too far away from the rest, because when you do that, people will think, oh, you see, I dread the thought when we only have professionals in front, where there is no interaction with others. For instance, if somebody comes in who is a professional in whether it's a physician or whether it's a chiropractor or whether it's one of the professions, a doctor, whatever, and they do a very complicated presentation. They talk about milligrams and that people can't really follow. And if that is what your focus is all about on the professionals, the guests in the room, when they see that, they will say, gee, I can never be like this. To be successful, I've got to be like him, and I can never do that. And they will never tell you, but they will say, well, this is not for me. And you will never find out the real reason, probably. But people come to a presentation. People want to know two things, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing is, who is the company? They want to know the credibility behind it, and the product line. That's for sure. They want to know who's the company and what is the product line. And then there's a third thing people want to know, and it's not the marketing plan. Believe me, the marketing plan comes automatically. What they need to know is, can I do it? They come there and say, I wonder if I could do this. This is their concern. Believe me. They come in there and they want to see something they can do. So the more you're duplicable, the more you're simple, the more you are down to earth, they will buy that. They say, gee, yeah, I can do this. I tell you, and I tell you this out of experience, when I got involved in 1988 in the network marketing industry, seriously, I was in Chicago. It came out of cash flow problem I had in real estate, and I had a hard time at that time. I had to fight for my $80,000 commission. They didn't want to pay me, so I was kind of in a bind. So I needed to do a change. So I met this friend of mine I haven't seen for years in Chicago while I was on a real estate auction with a client of mine. And he told me, listen, Hubert, it's great you're here. Are you here for a while? I said, yeah, for about 3 days. He says, gee, you got to come to my meetings. You got to see what I'm doing. And he was, I knew him, and he was sharply dressed, and he made money like crazy, and I wonder what he was doing. So he introduced me. I went to this meeting. This is how I got involved. And I saw him in front doing a presentation. And you know what I thought? At the time, it was a total different business. It was not Tucson. It was another business in air filters and water filters. And I looked at the presentation, and it was so not horrible, but so simple that I said, gee, I can do that. I can do that. That was my first thought. I can do that. And I got involved because of that. I could say, gee, I didn't look at somebody who is so slick that you feel, gee, I can never do this. If you're not duplicable, that's the worst thing you can be. You need to be professional, yes, but you need to be also at the level of the people that are there. Because don't forget, they look at you and see, gee, I wonder if I can do that. If you bring this across, you will make it in this business. Believe me, it's simple as that. I want to close with this. It is not important where you are right now. What is important? Which direction you're traveling. And I hope this is what you keep in mind. There's great opportunities with USANA. We feel like we've got a new leaf here on the business because we see more and more big holes everywhere in North America where we need to go and sponsor people, whether it's in my backyard, whether it's in the Northeast of the United States, wide open areas everywhere. It is up to us to bring the message, up to us to talk to our prospects intelligently, down to earth, that they can understand, and build relationships as much as you can, and you will be successful in this business. I want to thank you and have a great USANA week.
Thank you so much, Hubert. I hope everyone is taking in as much information as I am, because I'm just sponging it all in. I want to thank you all for coming in, and I want to especially thank you, Hubert, for taking the Saturday morning to do this fantastic presentation to all of us, so we can learn together. Hubert.
Yeah.
There is a couple of questions, or one question that came in. Would you like to answer that? Would you like to take questions? Maybe
sure,
a couple of
go
them?
Ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There is a question from Ben saying, this is the problem. I'm getting not very profitable at first. It takes 1,000 points to earn 100 and equal to $1,200 of sales. That means I need 10 people downline to earn 100. Now, what tips do you have that is a reason for prospect that doesn't want to join? This is from Ben Liu. So I guess he's asking it, can you give him any tips for encouraging more people to see that it's a profitable business?
Well, okay, let me address this. Very good question, and I'm going back to my own roots. Let me share with you what happened to us. When we started this business, nobody introduced us into it. We found the company, and we saw the potential. All I saw is this incredible potential. The more people I get involved, I didn't even think about dollars, number one. I never thought about dollars. I knew there's a lot of money to be made. I kept the potential open. And I knew what the industry can throw off, and you just look at the top earners and you see their lifestyles, and if they can do it, I can do it. This was my deduction, number one. Number two is when I got my first check, And I share this with you in true honesty. What happened? I got $100 check. I mean, in the beginning, you have a few people that come into the business. I never thought, oh, I need that many people in order to make so much money. You see, the minute you defocus from your own greedy motives, I can call it. I mean, we're all greedy, and it's good to be greedy in a way, but in the network marketing industry, you need to be careful. If you focus on yourself, what you need in order to make 100 or 1,000 or whatever it is, you're already on the wrong track. And I tell you why. Because this business is helping other people reach what they want. You see, if you focus in to get enough people involved and help them achieve their goals, that's when you start making money, more and more. And when I got my first $100 check, for the first 6 weeks, we only had a $100 check. Every week it came in a $100 check, and we only had a few people. The first check I got, I said, look at this setup. I was excited like heck. I said, look at this, $100. It was US at that time, So it was 13 years ago. And Sarah said, a big deal, it's $100. So no, you don't understand, I said. We can add zeros to that in the same week. I can make this 1,000. I can make this 10,000 a week or more. This is what I see. I didn't see the $100. I saw the potential of what we can do with this business. So we used that principle. And what we did is we put the blinders on and started sponsoring people. Now, if some of your prospects, and I had that too, they came to me and they wanted to know the exact numbers. And I said, let me tell you what happened to me. First 6 weeks I had $100, but I didn't care because I saw the potential. I wanted to focus in on the potential. Let me tell you, if you want to know is where your money is coming from in the end, it's from the residual. It's from the people that get on these products that buy every month, and every 4 weeks represents a weekly cycle. It takes, if you sponsor somebody every week, that's why we're teaching people to sponsor weekly, because every 4 weeks there's an authorship coming due. So that means if you sponsor one person this week, in 4 weeks there's an authorship coming, so either 100 or 200 points. Now, next week you sponsor another person. That's your goal. So in 4 weeks from then, there's another authorship coming on. So that means you now start getting weekly residual incomes as you reach the levels of pay, the pay levels. But what you want is the duplication of people getting on these products, getting into the business and building their nest eggs, and you help them do that. You need to defocus from all the numbers. I put business targets together. I could share this with you guys. We have it actually. We're teaching it as well for those people that really need to know the numbers. To tell you right now, you in the building process, it is different than in your residual process. When you're looking at residual income that comes over and over again. For instance, if you had one center, it would take 80 people to make $1,000 a month. 80 people just on authorship. So that's 10 people on the left, 10 people on the right every week that are on authorship of 100 points. If that happens, you would have 80 people in a month that give you $1,000 a month. Just repeat. I'm not talking about new business. I'm just talking repeat business. I'm not talking about 3% performance bonus, etc. Or if you had 160 people, you would have $2,285. If you were on 200 points yourself, and these 160 people, they're just on 100 points. Now, your goal is to have at least 400 people. 400 people that in one center, that means that on authorship, you make about $6,000 a month. Residual income I'm talking about. Just one center I'm talking about. One center. If you had just one center with 400 people, you have 200 on the left, 200 on the right, but split up in 4 weeks, that's 50 on the left and right every week, would give you about $6,000 a month. Now, if you had 3 centers, and you take that same scenario, now with 3 centers, you would need 160 people to make about $4,500 a month. Just repeat business. People that are purchasing the product on a regular basis. Again, split up over the 4 weeks. So you have on 001 left and right, 10 people each, and on 3 left and right, 10 people each. That means 40 people in a week. Okay, so you have 4 weeks, that's 160 people just on authorship. If you're perfectly balanced, there's about 4,500, 4,600 bucks for you. Now, if it goes to 320 with 3 centers, you're making roughly 9,500 to 10,000 a month. And if you had 800 people, as you become more mature and you max your 3 centers, you're looking at 18,155. And then that's not including the 3%. Now, if you put the 3% in, you would make about 24, 25,000 a month, just with 800 people on 100 points. If they were on 200 points, it only takes 400 people to make the same amount. So that is an indication what you can do. That's only the beginning. I'm not talking about new business coming in, just repeat business. But what is exciting now is every week that you're in the business and you're sponsoring people and you have that person become a platinum pace setter, you are literally blowing the roof off your business, I tell you, because with a matching bonus, once that gets going, it's just phenomenal. You know, I looked at it the other day again. It's unbelievable what your firm has done. But it requires to get your 4 people within 6 weeks. So help your new person become a platinum pace setter. And what I tell people, I say, look, I'm going to work with me. I'm going to work with you. Trust me. I'll work with you. And you got to work with that person. And let me tell you, if they get their first few checks, whatever the amount, they start, oh my God, it really pays. You know, people need to get their first checks to see, hey, there's really money coming in. Mm-hmm. And then the rest becomes history. You can't figure exactly out what you need just for you. You need to figure out how many people am I going to help this week to reach their goals. This is our thinking. That's how we think. And I want you to think like this. Don't get hung up on the numbers. I can give you all kinds of numbers. You can make all kinds of numbers, but this is not what builds the business. What builds the business is helping your people reach their goals. And you will find those people. And once you do that, if you help your people reach their goals, you will have everything you ever wanted in life, because automatically it feeds you as you help others. Mm-hmm. Any other questions, guys?
Yes. There's one that says, how do you retain your PCs and your associates?
Well, the associates, you stay in touch with them as much as you can. For instance, the PCs are not that much in touch. Once in a while I call them and say how are things going, and that's fine. But your associates are key to motivate and to keep in touch. And what we did in the beginning, and I again go back to our network. In the beginning, you see, when we did. When we built, especially in the beginning, first 3 to 6 months, it took us 4 months to be silver, 10 months to be gold, and this was our way of going. But while we were doing this, we did the regular meetings or get-togethers. You can do this either at your home or at a hotel. Build your local group. If you don't have a local group, if they are dispersed now with the internet and all this in different towns, you can go through webcasting. Do trainings, stay in touch with them, send out emails congratulating them, what they have achieved. We've got all this information in our downline management. It's unbelievable. I'm always sending out every week for the new people that join, they get automatically a letter of congratulations. So I want to know everybody that's in my network, which I will not be able to, but I will stay in touch with my key leaders or key people. And we teach the same principle downline. They stay in touch with their key people. You see, as your organization grows, that's what you need to do. You can't do it all yourself. This would be totally against network marketing. Network marketing is based on duplication. So in the beginning, you have total control of a few people. We would recognize them. I remember when we did the first meetings, they didn't really achieve the levels, but they were there for the next 3 months, and they were consistently coming to the meeting. So we would give little recognition plaques saying we commend you for your consistency staying with the Isana business, and brought them up front, and they were thriving, just being recognized. So we recognized a lot of our people. And the same thing happens now in my organization. The leaders in our organization do the same thing with their people, wherever they are. So we have duplicated not only ourselves, but the system. You see, you need to duplicate the system. Stay in touch with the people as much as you can. Send out the congratulations, see who's moved up levels, or see who's consistently on authorship. Especially in the beginning, you can see this and call them up and thank them and say, this is great, can I help you? Be there for them. They need to have that kind of bond. They need to feel they're connected. So I can all say, just stay connected with your people unless you become bigger and bigger and you become gold and you go above and then you have silvers and they become gold. So then it changes because now they will duplicate what you've done. You see, if you show them the way what you've done, they will duplicate that. If you never contacted your people, they will duplicate that too. They will not contact their people. And that's bad. You see what I'm saying? So you need to always be worried about what you are doing because anything you do or not do, people will duplicate. Unless they're really special and you will find those 1 in a million, they will do it anyway with or without you. And they build big networks and you never have to even talk to them. And that has happened too in certain instances. But in general, this is how you have to develop your network. And that way you build great leaders. I tell you, everyone in our network that came into the business, the ones that stuck with us, they've all gone up to great heights, above gold, the ruby, emerald, diamonds, etc. And it is because of the contact that you keep and the pace you set. We even do leadership meetings on a regular basis. Every 3 months we do a leadership meeting with the key people. And that is one way of staying in touch with them, and they will do it with their people, you see. So everything is duplicable. Don't forget that.
Awesome. One more last question for you, Hubert, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you help your new associates become platinum pace setters?
Well, let me tell you, when I'm working right now with a person we sponsored in California, right at the San Diego conference. The lady came in. She's from Malibu. She came in with 3 business centers, and she has a little bit of a health challenge, but that's fine. She's taking care of that, and she knows that we need to find 4 people to make her platinum pace setter. She's understood that and says, I want to be platinum pace setter. So the way we help her is, I said, Larella, I want a list of names that you know, people you know. Make me a list of at least 25, and I want you to identify the top 10 that you feel are the best material for coming into your business and drive your business. That doesn't mean the others are no good. That's not the point. We have a certain criteria, and I gave it to her. I said, I want you to make that list, and I will help you do a 3-way call. I'll help you make a presentation. We'll do a webcast, although we are 5,000 miles apart. It doesn't matter. You work with your people. If you can meet them locally like we do here, the minute they get their distributor kit and their products, when they're sponsored, I say, okay, I want you to. We go through the whole product. We show them everything that they need to know, set them up for business, and then the most important thing, when they walk out and they just signed up and wait for their product, I say, John, I want you to make a list. The next time we meet, I want to have a list of at least 25 to 50 people. Can you do that? He says, oh yeah, I can. I said, that's what I want you to do, and I want you to identify the first 5 to 10 people that we want to contact immediately. And then we start calling these people with them on a 3-way call. In other words, I'm becoming their coach. And we do this for the next 3 months in order to really get them going. Once I've talked to the 15th of their prospects and they heard me say things, whatever I said, they can do it now. Now they feel confident. I said, okay, I want to do it. It's you see, everything is repetitive. There's only a certain amount of vocabulary that you need to know. Everything else is repetitive. It repeats itself all the time. Every time you do a presentation, it's the same stuff, you see? So after a little while, when you work with them, instead of letting them go alone and get them blown out of the water, you want to be there when the objections come up, when they have questions. You don't want to leave your new associate alone. So we work with them effectively in the trenches. This is what makes the difference. And this way, we know we have a goal. And I'm like the coach, we got to get those 4 people. And this is mandatory. And they get excited. And whether it's 1 center or 3 centers is not important. If they come in with one center, we show them how to get that 3 centers within 6 weeks. And we work on that. But the key is to get them to platinum pace setter. And you need 4 people. It's as simple as that. There's no option. Pace setter is not an option. It's platinum pace setter. 4 people. If you know 2, you know 4. So we work on 4. We have 6 weeks to do it, don't forget. But it takes effort. It takes commitment. It takes being in the trenches with your people. That's the fastest and best way to get the confidence, Teach your people what to do so they can teach their people. That's what you want. Duplicate. Duplicate the system.
Wow. Well, how about another one, Hubert?
Yeah.
The questions kept coming in. You gotta let Hubert rest, you guys. Okay. There's one from Roberta.
Yeah.
She has someone who just invested in a home-based business, which is cost her $5,000. Now the husband's a little concerned of her joining USANA. How can I help? How can she help them or sell USANA to them?
What did they invest into?
A floral business.
A floor business.
Yeah, flower.
A floor. Okay. How much did they invest?
$5,000.
$5,000. Okay. What you don't want to do is put down their business. The first thing you want to appreciate, say, I congratulate you. You're a true entrepreneur. Say things like this. You're a true entrepreneur. You've started your own business. Now, here's something that either one of you can do to get involved, even if it's just on the product side. But now that you have your business, you need your concentration for that business, because don't forget, they put $5,000 in. You don't want to defocus them and let that business go down. You don't want to do that either. You see, you need to show them a way. You can say things like this. Say, look, I appreciate what you want to do with your business, but I want you to take a look at USANA and use USANA to build residual income over the next 2 to 3 years, and I will help you do that and offer them your help, but I need your contacts with you. I'm not going to do it for you, but with you. If you're willing to do this, you've got me at your disposal. Say things like this. And what is good about the USANA business, and you can then show the positive things that he doesn't have in the flower business. For instance, you see, you have no overhead without a USANA business. There's no bank after you. You don't have to make big money investments. You can do this with a few $100s to get going, and you have products for it. So you're basically, and you can involve other people. You can't do this with a flower shop. You're depending on the people coming to you, you see. You can say things like this to make a relationship where we excel. For instance, we create wealth for others while we create our own wealth. We are not in a business where we need to wait for someone to come to us. We go to the people. That's the difference. And this is what makes it independent of location, of country, no overhead. It's your home anyway, and you're using products, you're buying products anyway, whether you buy it in the drugstore or you buy all your creams and your shampoo, why not buy it from USANA? Plus, you're building a business at the same time. Show them that by redirectional spending through USANA, instead of buying it in a grocery store, cut down on things that are no good for you, buy it through USANA, like the great Reset line, the great macronutrition line. And you need, especially now that you started that new business, you need the essentials. You need to combat oxidative stress. Throw words like this around. It's very powerful, oxidative stress today. Just for that, being in that new business, he needs to use on a product. See what I'm saying? So once he's on the product or they're on the product and they see the potential, and help them with their list of names that you can help them build up a clientele and also a few good associates. What you want from that couple is two good people. Let me tell you, if you find two good people from their sphere of influence, people they know, one on the left, one on the right, and you start now working with them instead of that flower shop couple, what you're doing is you're now developing those people that are serving them at the same time. In other words, if you now work with the people downline, can you imagine what will happen? All of a sudden, they get checks in the mail. They don't even know where they're coming from and why, because you're working with the people downline, you see? And this way, they will see very quickly the power of this business. And I'm sure they're open as they're entrepreneurs already, but you got to be careful not to insult them in a way that you actually compliment them, but show them the difference in a subtle way. As I just explained, there's many ways to do this business. I always tell people, this is a contact business. When people tell me about time, beside what I'm telling them about time, it fits into your schedule. I said, don't forget, this is a contact business. You can literally build this in your lunchtime. How much time does it take to give out a tape or give out a DVD? 10 seconds, 15 seconds? So if you have an hour lunch, you can put out a whole bunch of tapes, and it didn't take you really time. You're taking lunch anyway, so you may as well talk to somebody and give them a DVD, for instance. Could change your life, you see. So it's all a matter of how we look at it, and you need to get that across to the people. So don't get hung up on the investment. Acknowledge it, and then show them the difference, how USANA could help them. That's what I suggest.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's one question I thought is really key for what we're dealing with right now in the economy, is how do you answer the recession objection?
The recession, let me answer this twofold. I do agree when we have recessions, there's always the people that did not dig their well before they thirst. They now get all flooded and say, oh, we have a recession, I got to have something else. I just lost my job or lost my mortgage or whatever, my house. And they've never prepared anything, so that's bad. Because now they're in a situation where they need income immediately. And in USANA, you can't really say, come in USANA and you'll make money. This is not the truth. It does take a little time. And not everybody is a high performer, so you need to discount that. But you can show them that while they still have the job or they're afraid they're losing it, that's where you can come in and say, look, why don't you start doing this? Because you never know what happens in the economy. This is a good place to start. Where you need to be careful, and I want to say this, what's happening in the States right now, what my concern is, if you have such a bad recession that the people get affected at a large scale, who's going to buy our products? Did you ever think about that? You need people in jobs. You need people that are average to use our products. You need clients that buy our products. If they lose their jobs, who's going to buy the products? You see, we need to be careful and not say, oh, the recession, it's great, we're going to make money forever. You need to be very, very concerned about that as well. But in generally, when I talk to someone now and I use that, as a matter of fact, my car salesman that I talked to in the beginning, the reason he's now paying more attention because 4 people were let go, good salesmen at BMW, because there's less demand, et cetera, et cetera. So he became afraid. See, and I told him, I said, listen, Joe, you have to dig the well before you really thirst. You still have your job, so let's go. And he's now so open. He wants to really give it a great shot. And it took me a year or more to get him to that point. But the recession now works for us because people are afraid. And you need to tell people to dig the well before they thirst. It's a very powerful phrase. When people think about that, you don't want to run into the desert. It means, and you don't have any water, and you wait until you're thirsty, and then you say, gee, I got to dig a well to get some water. You will die digging the well because there's no way you'll find water just digging the well when you're thirsty. So that's what I'm saying here. When people don't prepare while they're doing well, and whether it's recession or no recession, I always tell those people, and you know what? After recession, we're going to work on that. We're going to use that because people are conditioned now. Even if it goes well again, they will never forget, gee, I almost lost my job. A lot of people lost their job. I better find something else just in case. That's the new way of thinking, you see. We need to get into that. So talk about it. Hey, listen, now is the time to really get it going. Give yourself the next six months to really get this business going. Seriously, and you can do it. You've got all these contacts. Talk like this. So I'm using the recession to our advantage, but I'm not scaring people either. I'm careful with it and don't overpromise things. It's very easy to say, oh, you come as people make a lot of money. These are very cheap phrases anyway, and you don't want to use these cliches as well. Okay, so be careful, but use this recession as your vehicle for others to get going now.
Mm-hmm. Now, another question that came in is, do you have a certain approach or wording that you use when you're on the phone with your brand new person doing their 15-minute calls?
Which call? 15 minutes?
A 15-minute call. Just a 15-minute call to a new person. Is there certain words that you use or phrase that get them enticed to the sort of business?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, when I call my person, especially when they're new, every time I call them, they have a certain task to do. You see, I don't let them go without doing any task. For instance, did they do their name list? I will ask him, I said, did you do your name list? Okay, so I'm now on the phone with that person. He says, yeah, I put 19 people on my list. I say, great. Let's see who are these people. And then I show them how to categorize this list. I always have something to tell them that is revenue producing. Keep this in mind. When you talk to your people, don't waste your time with non-revenue producing chatter. When you talk to your prospects that are new or your new associates that are new, talk in terms of revenue producing activities. That's very important. For instance, become like a coach. I would say, okay, Belinda, you're my new associate. I said, Belinda, tell me, did you make any calls yourself in the last 3 days to your prospects? Now, she says either yes or no. If she says no, I said, well, why not? And then she will tell me, well, I'm not sure, whatever. I said, look, why don't we make 3-way calls? Let's start doing some 3-way calls, you and me. You tell me the profile of the person, and I'm going to help you put the connection together. I'll call you, put you on flash, and call the person, and we'll do it together. You introduce me as your associate, as your partner, and I'll do the rest. In other words, you edify me, and I'll edify you. And then I show a little bit how we do this, and here we go. And we are right into action. We're doing the 3-way call right now. Or we're choosing a certain time if she's time or the person is time constricted. But there's always something I do with that person. For instance, a new person, I would tell him also, I want you to go through that BDS, fill out these forms, these sheets. I want those 4 sheets filled. Next time I call you, I want to know what you've put down as your goals, etc. And I challenge the people then. And I sent emails out to my new people and even to the associates with a lot of challenges in it. I have them prepared and they go out every so often. But when I call somebody specifically where I have a major interest, for instance, that's a person that is building a new leg or whatever, I spend more time. And I really want to get that person going, because if I don't do this, there's nothing coming in, you see? So it's revenue-producing activities you need to concentrate on.
Okay. And what is your favorite approach for cold markets?
My cold market, that's a good question. When you call cold market, I like to make personal contacts. When I'm in a plane, it's my favorite. My favorite spot is the middle seat in a plane. It's the best spot. Nobody wants the middle seat. I always want the middle seat. Why do I want that? I even split up with Sarah. She sits in another row, and I said, we're not going to sit together. I sit in the middle with 2 new people, and she sits in the middle with 2 new people. So that means we're doubling our efforts. And what I do is I take my computer out, and this is my favorite. I like to, when I fly, that's what I do. Sit in the middle, and then I take my computer and put the Health and Freedom on. Or if I don't have the computer, it's too small sometimes to play in there, you can't, I'll take my newspaper. Health and Freedom, and open it up. It's a huge newspaper. And I guarantee you, the left side and the right side, they all look at it. And I see them already. I need one on the left and one on the right. So it's basically, a programming in my mind, So that doesn't mean I will sponsor them, but I tell you, I'm going to get interest. And if they don't say anything, I'm going to say something. If they're shy and I see them, they look, and then I stop at a certain thing and say, excuse me, sir, what is your name? And I say, my name is Schubert, I say, and I give my hand, and then he tells me, oh, I'm John. I say, great. Are you from the Chicago area? Yeah, okay. Look at this, John. And I point to something of interest, and then he says, well, what is that? I said, oh, sorry. This is a company called Susama. Did you ever hear about it? And I start the conversation. And I just show something very important, like the free radicals, that little, the 3 pictures in the front where you see the perfect structure, then the rabbit structure, and the rebuilt structure of the cellular system. So I show that. And I say, isn't that amazing what happens when you use antioxidants? And the guy's probably totally unaware of what I'm talking about. And then I just start talking with him. I'm not talking about you. I just showed him. I said, by the way, you're headed to LA as well? He says, yeah. So you're from Chicago. You go for the business? So I talk and ask him what he's doing. And then he tells me a story. And then finally, he will ask me, well, what do you do? And then I just point to the paper. I said, this is my business. Oh, there's a thing going, I can do this with the person on the right. So what I'm doing is I'm exposing the information information at all times to strangers when it becomes feasible. Like in a plane, there's no stranger anymore. Everybody knows everybody in a plane, if you want to, because we're stuck for 5 hours together, whether you like it or not. Nobody can leave, and that's it. So we're sitting there. So what am I going to do with my time? That's my favorite. My other favorite code, I like to make contacts no matter where, whether I'm in a restaurant, whether I'm in town, whether I'm in a line, in a bank, or whatever, wherever I am. I like to make contacts. So I make a lot of contacts by just talking to people. And it's always the same thing. Sometimes I do a survey. I go to town and I just ask people, I said, did you ever hear about a company you saw? Just for the heck of it. And I did this with not too long ago. And I found out that 25 people I asked, not one heard USANA. And that was right in the middle of Montreal at Peel Street in St. Catherine. Not one heard about USANA. It told me something. I said, gee, I've been here for 13 years and these people never heard about it. So make a survey. Get yourself always active. Don't be shy. Promote wherever you are. Or you can go through the internet. I'm getting certain leads that I follow up. It's very tough because you can't get them all the time. Sometimes they don't know what you're talking about. So you got to get the right person. But there are nuggets in there too. So my personal preference is making personal contacts. I'm very much visual with people. That's my strength.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, those answers are all fabulous, and I'm sure every one of you are just learning as much. A lot of them are sending answers and say, thank you so much. Thank you, Hubert, for your time. The attendees are very, very appreciative of you taking time answering the questions. It really helps them.
Well, it's my pleasure, and they can download the handout. This is a summary of everything we discussed, basically, as a reference. If they just go in it, and they just can download it, print it, and they can use it as a reference. But what I suggest to the people, I really want them to do it. Actually, not just having listened to all this, but apply it. Apply the things you've learned here, and try it. Find your own ways. You can modify that, but use those key phrases that you have in there. For instance, the empathy phrase. It's very important. The repetitive phrase of what they're asking goes zero in on their problem. And that's it. And prepare yourself. That's the key here, because you want to have this all prepared. Figure out the objections you can get, and find the appropriate answers. You can even create new answers. You can even research it. There's so much stuff out there. And find what works for you, that you feel comfortable with. And keep in mind the elements that you saw in the presentation. Not to make it complicated and not too long. It needs to be short and to the point. People don't want to be bothered with long phrases and long stories. They want to have answers now, what they asked. Okay?
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Hubert.
You're welcome.
So I don't know when we can borrow your expertise again, but I know one day we'll probably have to borrow it again. Thank you, and have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.